Hi, I run a digital agency and I'm 4 months into building an AI system to run it. Um, this morning I ingested two team meetings, or I had two meetings to ingest. I had one that was with my team and one that was with a customer, a client. And then but I wanted to plan it properly because I've had 4 months of this building and it's 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 been half built and I keep handing AI half understood problems. So I just thought, what did my nana say? Measure twice, cut once. So I've always wanted a place for software to go and, a single source of truth where everything is, and I've never known how to get it. And the software options that build the HubSpots and I mean, Salesforce is way too big. For a small business, the costs are just prohibitive. For a small business, now, I know that the months I've spent doing this would probably pay for some of those things 4 times over, but I wanted to do something that was mine. And I knew that this technology was coming along. It's time now where we can build our own software as a service. You might not be selling the service, but we're going to be building our own software. And so I kept trying to build it, but I kept trying to use different containers. So spreadsheet, Google Tasks, Asana, Membership Works, AppSheet, BigQuery. You know, I kept trying all these things and bashing at them, but I failed because what I'd failed to understand is that every one of those is just a container. So I had a place to keep the stuff, but I didn't have a way to get them to talk to each other. So I kept thinking that the container was the problem, across the whole thing. It's all about the container. Last night I stopped building and actually had a look at what I already had, and I'm like, okay, I've got to step back from this. And and when I did, I realized that it was never about the storage. It was never about the thing where I put the data, but it was about how I viewed the data. I already had the data, but I had no way to look across it. So I had 9 sources carrying client information, meetings, licenses, invoices, what client owed, the job details. And I'd already done all that work. And I've been collecting all this data over months and wondering why it wasn't working. And then when I stopped and stood back, I realized that all of the 9 connectors that I had in the database all actually connected to one place. 15 of the 20 connections I had were in my database. They all point to it, to one spot. And what I didn't work out, what I hadn't worked out, and what worked out this morning, which is like paradigm shift, is that it's a query that's missing. So asking one question across that whole data is the problem that I'd missed, right? So it's not a system, it's not a container, and it doesn't matter which database I end up using. It's the query, it's how I look across those things. So what did I get wrong? I went straight to the database. I went straight to the container in the beginning instead of asking what the thing actually had to do. And so I made the same mistake with Google Cloud, trying to build an enterprise solution for my tiny business. And and I installed a second database tool before I checked what was on my machine already. And so I was building in the wrong order. I was starting in the middle. But you don't know what you don't know. So halfway through, I felt like I was going backwards, not forwards. And I'm like, this is wrong. What's wrong? And so obviously that was right. And so you might have the same problem, right? Your data might not be splintered. You might just have no window to look at it. You just need the query. So define what tool. Yeah, because so define the tool. Nobody opens a database. The team and me needs a screen. We need something that we can look at that that shows everything. And that's a separate job. So the dashboard is separate to the query. And so you'd have to define what you do before you choose the tool. And that's the mistake that I made. So define, measure twice, cut once, I think is the theory here. Anyway, paradigm shift today. Hope it lands.